This is the Team Objection podcast for September 20th, 2018. It's episode 360. We thought about doing some kind of clever thing for, 360 full circle and whatever, and we realized we discussed everything that was relevant to that last week. So instead, it's just a regular episode.
And that's boring anyways. 360 is boring. I have something much more exciting.
They better deliver.
It will.
Okay.
I was going to suggest a name again,
No.
like I did last week.
Did you see how last week's ended up?
I did, and I like the not so subtle jab at me.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was
to
fun.
that by now.
Right.
I laughed. The ellipse made it. The dot
Right.
really made it.
I was searching for a word, any word but that word.
Okay, so let me set up the backstory. In 2015, for Christmas, I got the game Witcher 3. And I was like, cool, but I've heard this is like super expansive. I don't have the time. I don't even really have the interest. I don't know why I got this game. So it sat on the shelf. Fast forward to today. I finally am playing it and like, holy shit, you guys. It's so good.
I've heard it's amazing.
It's so good.
It does seem like a fit for you.
If you like, I feel like if you like Breath of the Wild, you almost can't not like this game. Like there's so many similarities that it's so good. The writing is so good. The characters are so good. But here's the best part. This is where I think, if at all relevant to anyone, it will be here. There's an in-game card game.
Gwent.
And it is... I'm addicted. Because the game's not even that good. That's not what I love about it. It's the idea that, like, so ever since I watched Yu-Gi-Oh!, I'm going to take you back again. Close your eyes.
Even
Let me
farther.
take you back.
Just keep
yeah.
Welcome to the 90s,
2002.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Comes on air, and I'm like, this is the shit. There's a world where there's like a standardized card game. Everybody has a deck. Everybody's deck is different, and everybody has like their own unique card. And everybody just plays each other all the time. And like no matter where you go, there's somebody who wants to play a game. And like this is the closest I've ever come to achieving that goal, which I've wanted my whole life. Like Magic is probably the closest real life thing we have to that, but nowhere near the saturation of Gwent.
No.
I don't have a Magic deck.
You don't have a Magic deck. If you were in the world of Witcher 3, you would have a Gwent deck, and I would kick your ass.
I bet you probably
and when you
would.
beat somebody, you get a card. And if they're like really good, you get their unique card, which makes your deck even better. There's tournaments all the time. I just had to play for somebody's life the other day. They were like, how about we make this interesting? Play me a game of Gwent and I'll let your friend go. And I could have just killed him. But I was like, hell yeah, we're going to do this the Gwent way.
Yep.
And it's
Shaun,
amazing.
This is how every story you have is set up constantly. Somebody's life is on the line.
Well, yeah.
So my family was killed.
Yeah.
Sean's all about stakes. Without stakes, you might as well not bother. Which is why, like, you would like Hearthstone quite a bit as a card game. It's probably a much better card game than Gwent.
Much better.
But there's no outside of game stakes. And if you still get some better stuff in it, but there's nothing that has to do with the world or the things around you. So it's not the same.
You guys, it's like I want to say it's probably going to end up being like a 200-hour game, probably.
Oh.
And I have already spent 150 just cruising the countryside looking for... There's a story. I don't know what it is.
All right, so I have a question.
Okay.
Did you play Pajak from KOTOR?
That was my question, Chris. You
Not
stole
really,
it.
and it was not the same.
It was also garbage, to be perfectly honest.
It was not
garbage,
that
yes.
fun of a game.
No.
I think there's like one tournament in Pajak, right? It's not...
I think there's like one story matchup that you can do as well. Like you fight somebody and it actually has implications that aren't just, win credits, but...
Yeah. So like... somewhat similar. I think Final Fantasy IX had a little bit of this in their card game, but again, nowhere near this level of
Triple Triad.
Yeah, there's I want to say 4 or 5 side quests that are just like find these 4 or 5 individuals and play Gwent with them. And like it's like main characters in this, and that's just the side quest. Then there's other parts where it comes up in the main quest. There's other tournaments you can do. It's like my dream in a game. I just cruise in the countryside on horseback, going into a town. First thing I do, go to the market, buy somebody's cards, and then play them with the cards I just purchased from them.
Nice.
It's addictive.
That's funny how that happens. Like you said that you had this game for a long time and never played it, and then finally did. Are there other games you can think of where that happened? Because that absolutely happened to me with Knights of the Old Republic. Because I got that, and like I started playing it, kind of was bored at the beginning, and then played it way later. And I was like, holy shit, this is fantastic.
There has definitely been times where something has not hit me at the right moment.
Yeah.
And I think it's more often a negative than a positive. If I'm busy or I can't give something the focus that I want, or it's just not the type of game I'm looking for at that moment, there are times I won't play something, and then I might come back to it later and go, oh, this is actually good. I just wasn't in the mood at the time.
Yeah, and I've tried to force it. Like, I've had a list, and I'm like, okay, when I'm done with this game, I know I have to play this game next. And I'm like, but then I'll get excited about another game, but I won't play it because I have what I have in my list. And then, like, I won't enjoy that game, and then I'll lose the passion to play the other game, and I'm just like, it's a lose-lose.
Yep.
So I've learned, like, no matter when, if I have a craving to play a new game, just go play it.
Especially
and the same with TV and, like, books or whatever, anything.
But gaming especially, I think, because as our time diminishes, it places a premium on playing things that are good and that we're enjoying.
Yeah.
You just don't have the luxury of being like, well, I had 40 hours this week because it was a slow week for college classes, so I slogged through .hack. Like, I think back on that, I'm like, my God, I wasted literally dozens of hours of my life.
Yeah.
That sucks. On my deathbed, I'm going to be like, .hack, biggest regret. Wish I had that one back. Don't have that one back. Whoops.
That's how I felt I had to do with Final Fantasy. Not Final Fantasy 15 a little bit, but especially Mass Effect Andromeda. I'm like, I need to play this. I need to play this. And I kept going, and I'm like, I just can't do it anymore.
The thing is, like, I'm glad I finished it. I don't think I would ever want to have not finished it because of all the investment I put in the rest of the series. But, man, that was a struggle.
I hate when video games are like a job where you're like, all right, well, I got to do this.
Yeah.
I have had that before. I'm trying to remember one game that I had, but I think for me, Mass Effect 3 got into that a little bit, but I still liked it. I was still in that point where I liked it so much that I'm like, I got to finish it. But there's points where I'm like, okay, I guess I'll go talk to this race now and see if I can figure them out.
Nowadays, it's going back and playing games. Breath of the Wild, I loved it. It was so good. I will never touch it again. It's too much. It's like you have to get in there, and it's expansive. It's huge. I forgot where everything was. I have to relearn all the systems. It's like, no, I'll never touch that game again. I didn't even play the DLC because that feeling of like just being overwhelmed is too much.
What's the DLC?
It's like another story quest. I think it's supposed to have gotten good reviews, but
And a motorcycle.
But I just don't care. Yeah, there's like a motorized bipedal vehicle.
I don't know if it was based on what ended up being in Mario Kart, or if the Mario Kart one was based on that, or whatever the hell. But it's a whole thing.
Bipedal. No, that's Metal Gear, but it's a motorcycle.
Yeah. So this raises a different question for me then. What other like off the beaten path things, whether it's side quests or activities, have been things that you've been sucked into in video games? So for me, well, you guys think of it since I'm asking the question. It's unfair. I am not proud of the fact that I went to all the trouble of getting a gold chocobo in Final Fantasy VII. I regret it. I regret Knights of the Round. I regret everything about it. Nothing about it makes me happy in retrospect. But I did it. I probably sunk in another 10 hours into just raising fucking chocobos in a game I didn't even love all that much. Why? I don't know. I guess at the time I thought it was fun. I look back on it now, I say that was bad.
I was really into gambling on the Pokemon games. I would spend hours at that town gambling and playing the slots.
Really?
Yes.
It wasn't even fun. It wasn't it was like a card game or like poker where there was some kind of
It was something about the mindlessness of it that I really liked.
Are we talking like original Pokemon, so like Red, Blue in what is it? Celadon City?
Yes.
Because I think Gold, Silver, maybe it was only in the remake, but later on they added that Voltorb flip game that was kind of like Minesweeper.
Oh
where
my
actually
god, I was obsessed with that.
That one actually had strategy and logic to it where it was more fun. That one I played quite a bit. The slots I couldn't do.
I liked all of them.
I liked the Voltorb flip because it had like some meaning to it. You had to actually think and play it. And the music. So I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to the Goldenrod corner for an hour and a half today. Let's do it.
Yeah, I played that for hours and hours and hours. And I also played the slots for a while too. But I was a bit younger. It was just like something really, like, again, mindless, and I could just like press the thing and it was silly. But that Voltorb flip was everything.
I always think it's interesting when you go and you do like all the side content. Like there's a side boss and you want to make sure that you are high enough to go kill it, and then it trivializes the main, like the end of the main game.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Like the weapons in Final Fantasy VII, like ruby weapon or diamond weapon or whatever.
Yeah, Final Fantasies are real bad about that in general. 10 also atrocious. If you go to the trouble of getting everybody's ultimate weapons and stuff, you stomp the end game content.
That was mine. Was the mindless thing I did was trying to get Lulu's Final Fantasy X ultimate weapon or celestial weapon or whatever. I thought that you had to dodge the lightning bolts, and I kind of figured out the pattern, and you'd have to get like 250 lightning bolts dodged in a row.
Yeah.
And I think I remember doing it, and I figured out the pattern, and I was like, okay.
Oh, don't
and
tell
then
me
I got to like 175 or something like that and got blasted. I'm like, so I just quit.
A little bit of that in the new Mario. Actually, this is a weird one. I set out to get every moon in Mario in Odyssey.
Oh boy.
and I like looked up at some point. I looked up like a list of like, here's the hardest ones or whatever. I got all the hard ones.
Yep.
And all I have left are like a handful of just like really, you go and you collect it. It's easy. And I haven't finished it. It's like there's something inside of me. It's like you did the hard thing, and now who cares?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing, except a little bit different. I got most of the easy ones, but I left behind the jump roping, the volleyball, any of the mini games that you needed to get the highest score on to get the star for or the moon for. I was like, no.
So what reminded me of that was Dave and the lightning bolt, because I got I think it's 100 jump ropes straight.
Yes.
And I eventually did it, but I think at one point I got to like 85. And then I fucked it, or I messed it up. And 85 in, you're starting to sweat. You're like, this is it. I got it. I'm in the zone. And then you don't even really know why. It just messes up.
Yep. And you haven't blinked for about a minute and a half.
Yeah. My eyes. Seriously, my eyes were tearing up. My hands were sweaty.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Mom spaghetti.
I did all the Daedric quests in Skyrim, but I don't regret though. Like those, that was better than the main game content.
Yeah, that's fair.
And here's a bad one in Fire Emblem Awakening. Twice now I've gone through and like gotten all the kids. And what I do is this is a game, Dave, where you can pair up the people.
Mm-hmm.
And you take them through like ranks of friendship, CBAS. So I got everybody to S, to A, and then I would pair them up. And then I was like, just to see what it's like, I would then start like matching them with everybody else. You're only supposed to bring up one person. Like they want you to beat the game someday. But I was just matching because I wanted to see everybody's conversation. So we're talking about like dozens of different scenarios, hours in, and then again, I don't beat the game.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, I reach a level where I'm like, I'm good.
I've done everything I need to do. Don't need to see the credits.
And I don't like doing that, but that's just what happens.
But it happens.
Yeah.
On the flip side, I have a question. I have run into this a few times where if I really like a game, like when I was playing Fallout 4, I try to avoid the main quest sometimes because for me, once I finish the main quest, my mind is done with the game. It's weird. I can't go back and do side quests because it's like I already beat it. What do I care?
I think I would mostly agree with that.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
There was some cool post-game stuff for one of the more recent Pokemon games that I did play, and I actually really liked the story. But usually I'm like, once I finish the main story, Kingdom Hearts, I never defeated Sephiroth or anything like that. Like, no.
Yeah, well, I know in so that's a little bit different though. Post game, I will do sometimes, depending on what it is.
Same. And Pokemon's had a couple good ones. Platinum, Omega Ruby with all the Zinnia stuff. That was pretty good.
And but side quest where it existed and I could have gone anytime and did it and I didn't do it.
Because post game, even though this is going to sound like the dumbest statement on the planet, it has to happen after you beat the game. So on that level, I'm like, if it does unlock new content, I'm usually like, okay, yeah, like I couldn't have done this before, so now I have to. If it is a side quest and I beat the game and I haven't done it, it's almost never getting done.
Mario's a great example. I mean, the post game is better than the main game in Odyssey, but that's a different thing.
I agree overall. It's different. And I like the main game quite a bit, but the additional stuff showing up, you're like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
One thing I will say, I'm curious about this too then. I occasionally, if it's a game I really enjoy, okay, not maybe a game I really enjoy. If it's the next step down, a game I like quite a bit, but don't maybe love, I will sometimes put off beating it just because I'm like, I don't want it to end. Does anybody else ever go through that where you're like, I have like a few hours left?
I'm too impatient. I want to get to the end so bad. And I know that once it's done, I'm going to be sad that it's over, but I can't. Patience has never been a strong suit of mine.
I'm like my wife over here, my show wife right here.
That's
because
it's me.
Yeah. She's on the couch.
Like I have the same problem where I'm like because I want to beat it. It's like Grand Theft Auto was one where I run into that where I try to make sure I beat everything but the main quest, because if I beat the main quest, I'm done because there's no new content, no new story, and I don't play Grand Theft Auto just drive around and run people over.
I do.
I mean, you can, but it's fun in spurts. It's not fun as like the only thing you do.
Right.
But then I don't know. I just like I want to like I'm just doing missions. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh shit, I'm on the last mission. Well, I guess I'm gonna beat it.
Yeah, I'm like you, where, and this is probably what you meant, Chris. But like if it's time for me to go beat the game, I go and I do it. But like there is a level of like Dave was saying, there's no more side quest, and you're almost disappointed because you're like, well, that's all that's left is beating the game, and I guess I have to go do that now.
Yeah, and that's I think the very clear line there. It's not when I'm on the last mission. That's what's like, all right, time to finish this. I'll see the credits. I can be like, yep, feather in the cap, I did it. It's that point like 3 hours before the last mission where it's like I have almost nothing left. I've done almost everything. It's like, oh no, I'm running out of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
It doesn't happen a lot to me anymore, though. And I don't know. That probably says more about me. But even Persona, which I loved, like that. Out of all the games I played recently, Witcher 3 is way up there too. But the story of Persona is so good that it drives you through. And even then, I was like, okay, I'm ready. And I think it's just that you're getting older, and all of us are, and like we don't have the same time. Ocarina of Time. That was such a thing of like I didn't want it to end. I was so into it, and I ended up going back and like if I had like a lazy afternoon, I just rebeat the final boss again. Mm-hmm. I did that probably 24 times,
which is fun.
Yeah, I missed the game and I want more time with it.
And on the subject of that too, that's a mini game I actually played a lot of, the fishing.
Oh, yeah.
Because at the time, 12, 13-year-old me was like, oh, cool, a fishing minigame. This is new. And now every single fucking video game on the planet has had one since then. Yep. And I will never touch it again. But at the time, I was like, oh, cool, look at this. You could just idly sit here and cast your line. You have the nice version of the ranch music playing. This is great.
Yeah.
I remember, Chris, specifically you being so excited about Ocarina of Time because your mom liked to play the fishing part.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh my God, my mom likes something in video games. This is the coolest thing ever.
That's one of the few things she's ever touched because she loves fishing. And I was like, all right, we'll try this out. And it took a while, but we got there eventually.
14-year-old Chris was very excited by this.
Yeah.
See, Dave, I wish you you talk about Grand Theft Auto, and I'm like, I wish you played better game. Grand Theft Auto is a good game, but like that's like. I feel like that's all you're big like 2K, Grand Theft Auto, and like somehow Mass Effect snuck in there.
And Fallout.
Like
I played almost all the Fallouts. Yeah.
And Fallout.
Mm-hmm.
And Elder Scrolls. Do you play those?
I would like to. I haven't though.
You haven't played Skyrim?
Mm-mm. I know. Believe me, this is my list of things that I'm supposed to play are Skyrim, Persona 5, and God of War, the newest one.
Did you take Persona 5 with you when you came up last time? He said in a conversation that only affects 2 people on the planet.
I was supposed to take it back with me, and I didn't.
Okay.
Dave, I feel like you would like, which is weird that I like it, but like Witcher is so. This is just like a thing I do. I play new games and then I just force it on you guys.
You do. Your opinion matters more than anybody else's.
I'm usually so like black and white. I really love, even though like I'm not really. I enjoy putting it to the bad guys in games, like when the villain gets his comeuppance, I'm like, hell yeah. And Witcher is so like, you don't really get a lot of that. It's very like subtle, and the story doesn't really operate with like these like stark black and whites. The character is he's never like an anti-hero, but he's very like self-driven. And I just think you would like that, Dave.
Kind of a chaotic good type of thing.
No, not even. He has like his personal mission, and he ends up getting swept up in these other conflicts where he's not really taking a side. but he has to help this person or that person to get his own goals. And it makes it, and you can play him more sympathetic or not. You're not. It's never like a Knights of the Old Republic where like you can save a person or make them jump off a bridge. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
But you can be like, I'll help you, or like, this is not my problem, and it's still great. And it's so good.
Yeah.
The acting is so good. The writing is so good.
That
I
reaction.
always appreciate when they have. I mean, I appreciate games that have good writing. I would take good writing with a bunch of cutscenes over button mashers any day of the week.
Yeah.
So I like if you can give me a game where like a lot of it is story driven and the gameplay isn't hard or anything like that, and I can just kind of get engrossed in it. I'm all for those types of games.
Well, here's a question then to go off of that. How do I want to articulate? Well, I'll just say what I'm doing. I'll just say what I'm doing.
Today, Junior.
Yeah. So, like, I like playing games like Bloodborne, Neo, Dark Souls because they're supposed to be challenging, and I like that. For a game like Witcher, I am playing on a mode called Just the Story, where there are times when I fight a monster that's a higher level than me and it still kicks my ass, but like, it just gets me through the game. It gets me to the story. And as a nice side effect of making my character feel like a badass, and he kind of should be at this point. So I kind of like that for weird story reasons. But so I guess my question is like, are you at the point where you do that, or are you still like, no, I want a healthy challenge?
I'm so glad you said it because that's how I am. I'm like second to easiest mode possible because like easy mode is like for babies basically.
That's what this is, but it's not real. Like, but it is. It's like
yours
easy,
is designed for the
medium,
story.
hard, and then above easy is just the story.
Well, because you're basically like having an interactive movie essentially at that mode,
exactly.
I imagine.
Yeah.
So, and I'm totally cool with that. But yeah, like Fallout, when I'm playing Fallout 4 lately, I'm like, yeah, put that on the easy mode. I want to one-shot, maybe two-shot basic enemies, and then have a little bit of a challenge with the Death Claw, but not be killed 7 times.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not quite at that level yet. I will not go to easy yet, but I'm not going to play a game for the first time above normal, I think, again in my life.
Yeah.
I'm going to take normal. I'll take the default experience. If I really love the game or it has a new game plus or something, that's when I might explore a higher difficulty if I ever go back to play it again. First time playthrough, no.
And I think it depends on what the mode actually means. There are some games where they're easy is like normal, and there are other games where like their hard is easy.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sleepwalk through the game, which is actually not what Just the Story in Witcher is. But I also, in Fallout, Dave, I lowered the difficulty because I was wandering, and probably 8 different times I got one-shotted by something I didn't even see.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm just trying to go cross the bridge. So I was done, and I lowered the difficulty, and I enjoyed it a lot more. And when I got overpowered, I raised it a little bit again, and it was much better.
Yeah.
So I've found that a lot of times when you raise the difficulty, what ends up happening is it just takes more time. Like, Final Fantasy games, if you could raise a difficulty, not that you can necessarily do that, but like enemies will just have more HP, or it'll just take longer to kill them, or you'll have to hide a little bit more. Where it's just like, okay, I can do this. It just takes so much longer, so I'd rather just get going.
Yeah, I agree. It takes time, and unless it's a game you really care about, and like that's not even because I do care about Witcher, but like it would be it's a very challenging game, and if I went beyond easy, I would get my ass kicked constantly.
Like Dark Souls.
I don't like Dark Souls, but I'm not playing Dark Souls, so I don't want that.
Right.
Like,
I
don't know how anyone can enjoy Dark Souls after I played it unless you get really good at it. Because the repetition of going through that same part over and over again is just, it hurt.
Get good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Get good. So back to Gwent. No.
Okay. Sorry, because that's the important thing here.
Well, I'm kind of kidding, but so all it did was bring me back. I have a pitch for you guys, and Chris knows about it if he remembers. What it made me think of was I would love to do a D&D campaign sometime where it's a campaign, there's politics, there's intrigue, there's character interaction, all that good stuff that D&D is, but it's based around like in a Yu-Gi-Oh type world where the big conflict is like you play card game and like the DM has decks. This would be a nightmare to set up, but it would be a hell of a lot of fun. The DM has decks of the different colors. It'd probably have to be Magic because Magic is so well tailored to that already. And different either different decks based on like difficulty, or the DM just kind of puts a handicap on himself to not always make the optimal play or something. And then that's how you go through the game. You play tournaments, you know, whatever bullshit Yu-Gi-Oh did to justify all the duels in that show. Same thing, but in a D&D campaign. What do you guys think?
I think that's the dorkiest thing I've ever heard, but it sounds really fun.
It would be, and like a little bit, it would be alleviated by like you would be playing, I think, against the other people in the game, against their deck. So it's not always the DM. It would take a hell of a lot of time, but I just think it'd be so fun. That's like my dream.
Kind of the biggest issue with that is the time to output. If only because like if you're doing that for a couple people, it's great, but if you're doing it for a party, like in a traditional sense of 4 or 5 people, how the hell does that work? Even if you throw in some tag ones, like how often did Taya duel on the show? Yeah. The answer is twice.
Well, yeah, so you're off dueling Michelle, and I'm just sitting there. And like I would be interested in the duel, but at some point, you're spending so much time watching other people play cards.
Yeah.
I get that. I still think it'd be so fun.
It's one of those that'll work in theory, and then it might not work in practice.
Well, like, so I put into the prep work for the Anachronism, and I don't mind doing that because, you know, there's 5 or 6 players most weeks, so, like, I'm getting a good return on my investment. Like, my ROI is high because so many players are getting something out of it, and that's cool. I love the idea of this, too, but the problem, again, is, like, all right, so this person's one duel, that's going to be that, so I'm going to prepare that one thing for them for half an hour, and everybody else at the table is going to be like...
Yeah.
And if you really play out the drama, maybe they're interested, but like you said, at a certain point, you're like, I want to do it.
Yeah.
Let me in,
Dude,
coach.
I wrote a story, though, when I was in my big Yu-Gi-Oh phase about there's this, like, there is like Yu-Gi-Oh, but there's, like, decks, and, like, this one, the main character had, like, I can't remember if it was, like, a business, either, like, inheritance or the, like, basically the key to the fortune was like embedded in the card, and in this world when you beat somebody you get their cards. Like all these people are challenging him for his card that he inherited, and there was another conspiracy that he was no one cares about this, but I'm just saying this would be really fun.
You're right.
It would be really fun, Dave.
So, you know, that makes me think of something though. When you were talking about that, it basically happens sometimes where you spend so much time working to achieve the goal that achieving the goal is kind of a letdown. Like in that case, like you're talking about getting that card, like you work so hard and you get this card and it's like, all right, now I have it. Now what?
Yeah.
Now I can play the game, I guess. I don't know.
Play the game betterer now.
Yeah, I can play it more better.
To get every card in Witcher 3, and I'm going to get it. I'm going to be like, okay. I'm done.
That happens a lot now, and that like desire to finish something happens, which is what drives people's microtransactions on like the freemium games on your phone, where it's like I got to get them all, and then once you get it all, it's like, why did I do that?
I have nothing left to do.
Yeah. It's like you're playing the Simpsons tapped out game. It's like, cool, I built the nuclear power plant. It's there, not doing anything.
Yep.
All right. I'm glad I spent $20 on that.
And that'll happen a lot with like you're prepping, you're spending all these hours training for like a big boss, and then you beat him, and especially if you like kick his ass, because then you over prepared, and you're like, okay, well he's dead. I did it.
Yay.
That happened. That happened with a friend of mine in college with Final Fantasy X. He didn't really realize where the final boss was, so he went and kind of got all the celestial weapons, and then went and find the final boss. Why am I blanking on the name?
Yu Yevon.
I was gonna say Yugi because of Shaun. Stupid. Yu Yevon. He fought Yu Yevon and one-shotted him, and it's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
And more than one person did that. A lot of people accidentally ruined that game in particular. There's been a few other Final Fantasies where you could do that, but 10 in particular, because I'm always like, oh man, Seymour Battle is one of the best music themes ever, and people are like, I hit him in one hit and he died. I never even heard the music, and I went, oh.
Jeez.
Oh, that's too bad.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah, and that's what's hard. It's like I want it to be. I don't want to pull my hair out, but I don't want it to be too easy either. So. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe that's a topic for another time of like best gaming achievements, and not necessarily tied to the achievement system, but like just personally, what have you done that you're actually proud of?
I
would like to think about it, and I think we're getting near the time anyway, but think about that.
Gotta keep the show shorter.
Yeah.
We went pretty long the last couple of weeks, even though we didn't intend to either week. Both ended up being, I think, both were over an hour.
It's just so organic.
We
guys
just
really
bullshit for 30 minutes.
Think about my Magic D&D game, though.
I won't spend absolutely zero time
Dave,
thinking about this.
I want to see a business proposal for how to make it work.
Right.
All right, take me out to lunch, and then we'll talk about it over lunch. Have your people
Really?
call my people.
And you'll bring it? Okay. I'll take
If
it
your
as
people
lunch,
call-
but I expect a prepared presentation.
No. You were preparing the presentation for me.
Hell no. You're doing it. I'm
What do I
buying
have to
lunch. I
present?
want the business plan.
No.
Then
Wait.
you don't get lunch.
What am I preparing here? You're the one that wants to sell the game.
Yeah, I want to hear your business proposal.
For who?
Monetize this thing you don't care about.
Or
It's
fully
brilliant.
understand.
I like the idea of Dave being forced to be the financial backer of an elaborate, like, Yu-Gi-Oh thing of which he has no knowledge at all.
Yeah.
Here, just take my money, throw it down the well. It's gone. Just
Yeah.
dump it all in my wallet.
So, Dave, so think about the greatest gaming achievements, but I do have one more thing off of the idea that when you've achieved something, it's like over. So I have chronicled my asshole rival in Orange Theory, right? And I was talking to somebody and I realized like there's a part of me that doesn't ever want to beat him because he's such good motivation that I want him to drive me and I want to win, but then I don't actually. Because then it's like, well, what now? What do I have driving me now?
The drive and journey is better than the end game or the reward.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder how that works at, like, top-level athletics.
Like LeBron James. What does
yeah.
LeBron James think?
LeBron could have coasted and still maybe been the best player of all time by the time he's done. He absolutely has, and he's been adding stuff to his game throughout his career. But what drives him?
Michael. It's got to be Michael drives him.
He's never really talked about it publicly, but it certainly could be.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
I think about Michael Jordan. What drove him? And he's an insane lunatic.
Yeah,
That's
he was
what
a
drove him.
monster.
Well, and like Jordan was at a time, like LeBron is at a time where he's sorry, Michelle, to do this to you. He's like a freak of nature, but like Jordan was, I felt like ahead of it. You watch him play and you're like, he's like the next generation and you're all stuck in the previous generation. It almost takes away from his greatness because you're like, you're just ahead of your time. It's not even that you're better. You're just running circles around people.
Oh, he'd still be a super duper star in today's game, but he wouldn't be Michael Jordan.
I really don't think so. Honestly,
have you ever watched footage of the NBA from like the 40s?
Oh my god!
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I could play there.
It is a dumpster fire.
Really
People don't jump on their shots. They throw up crazy hooks that have no chance of going in.
I want to show you a video sometime, Michelle, of people playing in like the 40s and 50s. If you stick James Harden or Russell Westbrook, they'd score 150 a game.
Then there is an element nowhere near that bad, but there's an element of you have players who are still kind of like part of that generation where they look really stiff when they move. They don't have a lot of athleticism or flexibility. And then you have Jordan in there with all of his grace and power, just cutting through them. And you're like, this isn't even like, I'm surprised when I went back and watched footage of Jordan and not like the highlight reels, when you actually like watch him in the flow of the game, it's like, it's not even fair.
I wish we had more video of Wilt Chamberlain because he's one of those types of players where he just like, it wasn't fair that he was in that game.
He was ahead of a
everybody else.
generation.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and again, I think there's something to say to like competition. I am in a basketball class now. There are maybe two other people who are like good. And it's really disappointing. Like I texted Maisie and I'm like, this class sucks. I'm like one of the better people in the class. And she's like, oh, that's great. I'm like, no, it's not. I never want to be like, if I'm like top 10, I'll feel good. That's fine. If I'm top more than that, I'm like this. It's like that thing. You don't want to go to any party that like you would be invited to kind of thing. I don't want to be in this class if I'm one of the better people in the class.
You don't want to have the nicest house on the block type of thing, you know?
Yeah, and it's not like I'm not trying to brag. Like I'm competing against people who like have. It looks like they just picked up a basketball, so it's not like I'm so good. It's just I want a level that's just comparable to me. That's all.
You want competitiveness, which is fun.
That's it. That's all I want. I want to feel like when I win, I've achieved it. Is that so much to ask?
A little
You
bit.
can get that achievement point. Right?
Get that achievement. Yeah.
If Shaun could get real life achievements like Xbox, we'd all be fucked.
Oh my God, he would be more of a maniac than he already is.
It's over.
There's a Black Mirror that's kind of that idea, and like, yeah, man, I wish I could have that. And where like my job and like the house that I can afford is tied to the achievements that I get in real life. Man.
You should watch an episode of The Orville, which is surprisingly a very good show.
I don't. I have heard. It's the
Seth MacFarlane show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've heard it's good.
It's so good. I hate watched the first 2 episodes, and then I was like, oh God, this is good. But there's an episode where like people like basically people's entire society is built on a like or dislike. You wear a badge that has an up arrow, a down arrow on it, and people can upvote you or downvote you when they see you or see you on TV or something like that. And their whole society is built on how many likes or dislikes you have.
It's like Black Mirror.
That's totally what Black Mirror did, but that's okay.
Is it? I didn't know that.
Every story has been told, the kind of thing, and I'm sure Seth MacFarlane's was like a good take on it too. But the same idea of like your entire perception is based on like your score and your upvotes or downvotes.
I was reading a Korean webcomic like 3 years ago, and it was essentially sort of like that, but with dice, and the dice gave you superpowers. And it essentially became, instead of a game, it started to be like, well, if you kill the other players, you can have all their dice. And it's like, oh, good. So now we've gone from like achieving things to murder. Great.
Yeah.
That's not going to go
It's always
well.
the next step.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what Shaun would do. He would kill people for achievements.
I would not because it wouldn't feel probably earned.
You would hire someone to kill them, so you
No,
didn't have
I
to
wouldn't.
do.
Like unless killing them was the achievement.
That was the next thing I was going to
That's
say.
what I'm saying, though.
But-
if your Orange Theory workout every like time you do it is 10 points, and murdering somebody is 10,000 points, I think you're going to
wouldn't do
consider it.
I wouldn't do it because I would feel like that again. It's maybe not the easy way out, but like I wouldn't. Yeah, it's morally I wouldn't do that.
No. Murdering them is the 10,000 points. So
No,
that's
I understand, but I'm saying it's not moral. So I wouldn't do it. I would just do
But
a bunch
achievement points, Shaun.
I would, but what I would do is I'd be like, okay, so I'm at 5,000 points, and that guy's at 10,000, but I know he murdered someone, and I didn't, so I'm actually doing pretty good in comparison. That's how I would operate with that.
And Michelle doesn't even need an excuse to kill people. She's just going to do it for free.
It's true.
She would be my biggest competitor then.
Yeah. You guys would be blood rivals.
Big boss.
Oh, wait. Already are.
Michelle's like Kimberly from Full Metal Alchemist.
She wishes.
I do wish also, yes.
She just kills for fun. Dave is the.
And
She
she has
loves
a
the
nice,
chaos.
a stylish hat.
Like Combobulus Michael from Rick and Morty.
Yeah, they just kill. He kills because he's good at it and he enjoys it, and that's it.
I just love killing people.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm here for, everyone.
Yep. Well, that's the end of this episode. We picked topics that Michelle was not going to be able to chime in on just to exclude her. So just like hold your hand up over that part of the screen for the next time you watch this episode in reverse, and it'll be fine.
Michelle, I'm expecting your greatest achievements though coming up.
Yeah. Oh,
in gaming.
there's just a plethora.
You don't sass me because I know you have a lot. You have a lot.
No.
You play. We're gonna. And if this is what we come to next week, that's a topic too. We're gonna have plenty to say because you are holding back. You're Susaning it.
I'm Susaning it.
Susaning.
Yes.
Michelle's
Nobody
greatest
knows
gaming.
what you're talking about, idiot.
Michelle's greatest accomplishment: shipping every video game character on the planet.
Dave, I
Fact.
find that to be one of the funniest things you've ever said.
Well, I stole it from John Mulaney, so thanks, John.
Just an outburst of you're being fucking dumb,
Yeah.
and you need to shut up.
John Mulaney's great. That's one thing all four of us can agree on.
Yeah.
That's rare.
Very
There you
true.
go.
All right, we found a common ground. It only took us 39 minutes. We
thank
did it.
God.
We did it, everybody. That's the end of this episode. In between shows, come find us at our website, objectionnetwork.com. We're at Team Objection on social media. It's objection.com/ nope, that's wrong. youtube.com/objection network for the YouTube channel. And you can send emails to the show to objectionnetwork@gmail.com. I could have saved it if I just switched to the email, but I was too committed. See you next time.